This is Things Police See, First-Hand Accounts, with your host, Steve Gold.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. Ken Roybal, how you doing, sir?
Hello to everybody. I'm doing good.
Excellent. We got a hot one today. This is great. It was recommended to us by Neil Smith, who was a past guest who had some, I'm sure you remember, some totally insane stories from Macon Police Department.
Yeah.
This gentleman retired a captain, I believe. His name is Jimmy Barbee, and he's just doing a little poking around on the internet. He seems to be somewhat of a law enforcement legend in the state of Georgia, so I think he's going to have some good stories.
Rock star. He's going back some time, too. He's going pre-'80s, so, I mean, he's been around for a long time. Back when, police work was police work.
I like it. I was made for that time, Ken. I was robbed of that.
It's okay. I'm trying to find out what year he started, but I can't. Well, you know what? I'll bet he knows.
He might know. He might have an idea. All right. Let me dial him into the convo.
All right.
Jimmy Barbee, hello.
Hello,
sir. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure.
This is awesome. You come highly recommended by Neil Smith, a former guest of ours who was just a lot of fun to have on. And, we do a little research before we have people on, and I'm reading from a few different sources that you're a bit of a legend in law enforcement in the state of Georgia.
That just depends on who you talk to.
And Jimmy, can you tell everybody, just give them just a brief synopsis of your police career, ranks you held, and how long you were a cop for?
When I retired in 2015, I was a captain with the Bibb County Sheriff's Office. I started out in 1971 with the Macon Police Department, and some idiot in government decided they wanted to consolidate the government, so we have no police department anymore in Macon. It's all sheriffs. And I didn't stay in patrol long. I wanted to go into investigation. I spent most of my career in investigations, about 30 years of it working homicide.
Wow. That's a long homicide career.
I know it. But, as bad as it is, I loved it. I did 3 years in internal affairs, and the only thing good about that was I met my wife while I was IA director, and then I got out of there. I did almost 1 year's training director, and that was fun, but my passion was homicide.
Jimmy, can you take us down memory lane here? Tell us about the first hot call you responded to as a police officer.
I can. The very first call I responded to was a shooting, and that's the way they gave it out, shooting. And that was my, I think, third day out of the police academy. And of course, my partner that day, we were riding 2-man cars back then. My partner was a guy named Calvin Smallwood, and the only thing he could have done better would have been a circus clown, because I mean he was stretched out, and he wanted to be an instructor. And he wanted to instruct me. So as soon as we walked through the door, he starts talking. I need you to look around. Tell me what you see. What do you see in the bedroom? And this lady, bless her heart, she's probably 80 or 90 years old. She's laying in the bed. The gun's in her hand. She's got powder burns on her chest, right at her sternum. And he said, what do you see? And he questioned me like that the whole time I was there.
Oh, how annoying.
And I said, I think it might be a suicide, Calvin. He said, all right, what makes you think that? And I said, the damn gun in her hand is a kind of a giveaway. And he didn't even see the gun. And the detectives came, then we left. And I'm thinking, why are you questioning me something like this? We're not going to handle it. We're just going to do the initial report. And that was the first call. I didn't know what it was. It just went out as a shooting. I think, well, here we go, boys. But it was just that little old lady, bless her heart. She got tired of living and killed herself.
Really? How old was she?
Probably 80 or 90 years old.
Wow. And she shot herself in the chest.
Shot herself in the chest. They won't shoot themselves in the head. They not going. I don't care if you're 90 years old. They're not going to mess up the looks.
Yeah.
Try not to anyway.
Now, this guy you're with, he does sound like a clown. What you guys are? You're the same rank, and he's like playing. He's playing teacher with you. It's like so obnoxious.
he was actually real funny. I was going to do the report. I didn't care how long I'd been out of the academy. He had more time than I did, and that's what it was. He was just, I guess he was just trying to help me along, maybe impress me a little bit. But
you were not impressed.
Not much.
What did you think of that? Did it have any impression on you? Your first, the first call you go to, there's a dead body. It's a suicide. No. Did it mess with you at all?
No, not at all. I was a Vietnam combat veteran at 19.
Oh.
And I tell my wife, I teased her, and she tells everybody that I've only had 2 jobs in my life. I killed North Vietnamese, and I joined the police department. And that's all I did. Nothing on the police department scared me, affected me in any way. I saw so much of it in Vietnam. They did so much, but and I made a point not to take that home. When I got off work, it all stayed at City Hall.
Yeah, that's a good move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
some
definitely.
of it went home, but I tried to leave it all at City Hall.
Well, it sounds like Vietnam gave you just the right amount of callous to do what you did.
It did.
Can you describe the strangest or most bizarre thing you dealt with?
I was thinking about that, Stephen, and I saw a lot of death in those 45 years. But there were 2 particular calls that I went on, or I was notified about, and I was in the bureau then. One was a frozen baby, and the other was some stolen eyeballs. And you have to. I wasn't the type of supervisor that would point the finger at one of my detectives and say, "Go handle this," or "Go handle that." I'd take the lead and go with them. But the frozen baby, I thought, y'all must be stupid. So I go to the residence, and it's a high-rise apartment, probably a block and a half from my office. And I knock on the door, and this couple comes to the door, and I said, "How are you?" And I'm Mr. Nice Guy. And they're just as friendly as they could be. And I said, somebody I think is playing a joke on you, and said that you have a frozen baby in your apartment. And they said, "Well, come on in." "Yes, we do." And I thought, oh, hell.
Whoa.
So we go in the kitchen, and they've got a refrigerator with a freezer on top. And they pull out a Burger King cup, a big cup, maybe, I don't know what it is, 20 or 32 ounces. I don't remember what it was. And it's got a red liquid in it, looks like red ice. And they said, "Here it is." And it's certainly not big enough to be a baby, but it's a full-term fetus.
Whoa.
Well, not full-term, but it was old enough it could have lived for a while. And they froze that baby not to keep it. Whoever the caller was did not tell our dispatch. They wanted to give that baby to the Mercer University School of Medicine in Macon, so if they could use it, they could. And they didn't know how to get rid of it, so that was the only way they were going to get rid of it. And medical examiner did an autopsy on it, and of course I don't remember what the autopsy said, but there wasn't anything bad happened to it. And the next one was, I got a call to a funeral home.
Wait, Jimmy, let me interrupt you because I have some questions for you.
Okay.
Because that is nuts. Okay, so back in this, what year was this that you were handed a fetus in a cup?
Mid-'80s.
Okay, was like home births and stuff pretty common in this where you lived?
Oh, no.
No, most people went to the hospital.
They were about 2 blocks from the hospital.
Okay, so What exactly happened? So did she miscarry at home and then she decided to freeze the baby?
She did. She miscarried at home and decided they wanted to give the baby to the medical school and see if it could help them teach their medical students. So I guess they went to Burger King that night, stuck it in a cup, and put it in the freezer.
Okay, and someone from the house was the person who called, or someone else?
No, not from their house. If somebody else called, they had mentioned it to someone, and I guess they would have been like me, said, "Yeah, really." But they thought about it and decided, well, maybe we better call the police. So they did, and then they called me. They didn't even send a patrol unit out there. They called me.
So is there any laws broken for that?
No. I mean, not even concealing a death, because it was well, I guess you could have made a case for concealing a death, but I'm not sure how the DA's office would have looked at that, since it was a fetus like that. But anyway, I sent paperwork to them. They didn't do anything.
Wow, that is so bizarre.
I didn't mind sending paper to the DA's office. I did my job. Let them do theirs.
Sure.
They didn't want to prosecute it. That's fine with me.
So what did you do with the baby? Did the coroner come out? Did you have to transport it somewhere?
I transported it to the crime lab. Met the coroner there. He was about as baffled as I was. But yeah, we left it with the medical examiner, and that's what we do with all bodies. The funeral homes go and pick up the bodies, and if they gave it to the medical center, Mercer University, that's fine. Once I got it down there and found out what I needed to know, that was it.
Wow, that is that's
strange.
pretty. That is strange and bizarre. For sure.
You don't think about getting up from your breakfast table and going to get a fetus out of a freezer. You just
yeah, it's just Ken. It's just one of those calls where it's like you try to tell people when they get into police work that you're going to see the weirdest things you can't even imagine. This is like the poster child for that call, like fetus in a cup.
Well, I've been around for a long time, and if you can get me to go, what the hell? Then it's weird. It's definitely weird. So this is one of those.
I can't wait, Jimmy.
Let's do it.
I got a call to a mortuary, and I knew everybody that worked there because they picked up so many dead bodies for me. And I said, "What's the problem?" They said, "We got a letter from a local attorney, said they're going to sue us." And I said, that's not. I don't handle suits." And they said, "Well," he said, "you need to sit down and listen." So I sat down, and they said, "This man had his mother in their funeral home, and they were getting the body prepped for funeral, and he wanted to spend a little time with her alone so he could cry or clap his hands, whatever he wanted to do." And then he goes and didn't say anything to them. He left, and he goes and gets a lawyer, and the lawyer sends the funeral home a letter saying, "You stole her eyeballs, and we're going to sue you for $600,000. Well, the funeral home in Macon was owned by Dignity out of Texas. So they called the chief's office, and the chief said, "Okay, I'll send Jimmy down there." So I go. And I look, and sure enough, her eyes are gone, the eyeballs. And but this man was a doctor, the lady's son, and he wanted an autopsy done on his mother, but he wanted a friend of his to do the autopsy. So the man does the autopsy, except he kind of forgets to open up the body. He does the autopsy, and oh my goodness, her eyes are gone. And I said, "Well, okay. Are you sure?" "Well, yes, I'm sure." I said, "Did you take the plastic lids off the eyes under the eyelid?" I don't know if y'all know it, but when they die, they put plastic little cups under the eyes so the eyes don't shrink into the head, the eyelids.
Oh, okay.
He said, "Well, no, I didn't." I said, "Well, how do you know the eyeballs were gone, Doc, if you didn't lift the lids up?" "Well, that's what he said." And I said, "Yeah, okay." Well, I went back and made my report and said, there's no evidence that, of course, the body had been disposed of. I said, "There's no evidence to say that the eyeballs were gone." And what it was, he took the eyeballs out. The son did. And I'm going to say that the funeral home took her eyeballs out so that they could donate them to somebody. Well, you don't donate eyes from a 70-year-old woman who died with cancer. They're not going to take them. I don't know why he wanted an autopsy anyway, since she died of cancer. And it was known what killed her. Mm-hmm. But he was just trying to scam the funeral home. And they got mad at me because, well, he did anyway, because I didn't tell his attorney what I found out. And they called me in the chief's office and asked me, said, did you tell his attorney what you found out? And I said, no, sir, I didn't. And he said, why? I said, because I don't work for his attorney. I said, I work for you in the DA's office. If he wants something, he can go to court and find out through discovery, I mean. And that made him even madder. But the guy, he dropped the lawsuit and all that stuff. He was just trying to scam his own mama.
Wow.
$600,000.
He took the eyes out himself, Jimmy?
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
And what was his end game?
He was going to try to say that the funeral home did it to get rid of the eyes. And he'd go sue Dignity for $600,000.
Did you find the eyeballs?
No, never did. And actually couldn't prove he did it either. So there was no case made, but we stopped the lawsuit.
Wow.
And the medical examiner was out of Warner Robin, just about 18 miles south of Macon. And
holy cow!
I guess the guy thought he was going to lie for him, but when he talked to me, he didn't lie.
That is not cool. Scooping out your mom's eyes after she dies.
No,
what is your problem?
You'd be surprised how stupid people get.
Yeah, especially when it comes to money.
I know. I tell people you can't fix stupid, but my wife tells me you can. It's just permanent.
I guess Mom didn't leave him any money, because if he's trying to scam the funeral home for money for the eyeballs, she probably wrote him out of her will or something.
I don't know. That's not homicide. That's somebody else's bag. Let them look into it.
I used to work with a guy that has just remind me of this. He his body the only thing that his body didn't react to negatively when it came to dental work was gold. So his back 4 teeth were solid gold. And it's worth a ton of money. Gold, back in the old West, he used to pull people's teeth out, I guess, that had gold. Mm-hmm. But he actually put it in, it's in his will that the gold is there and that he wants it removed and given to his family. It's that much, just remind me of that, because people trying to capitalize on corpses. This guy's got a mouthful of gold. Wow, Jimmy, that is two very, very bizarre stories.
But why would somebody...
Go ahead.
Why would you want to even think that somebody's going to donate eyes from a cancer victim?
Well, I was thinking normally when you have family disputes over dead people's possessions, you go, "Oh, what you do with Mom's dresser?" But nobody goes and goes, "Hey, where's Mom's eyeballs?" It doesn't quite work like that.
Not like that.
Those babies are worth $300,000 a piece.
Well,
who thinks of that stuff, man? This is what I love about this podcast. We get on here, and Steve and I, you can't see us, but our eyebrows are going, really? It's like some of these stories that you guys come up here with are just amazing. That's probably one of the best ones, though, Steve.
Yeah, that is nuts. That is out there. Absolutely.
Well, you can always say, $300,000 a piece, fresh from a 70-year-old woman with cancer. What more could you ask for?
What more? So,
wow, Jimmy, can you tell us about the most intense or terrifying call you went on?
I thought a lot about that. There's so many. Most of them involved hostage situations, and most of them didn't turn out well. They weren't, I wasn't scared for me. And I was a little concerned about some of the officers, especially the SWAT officers. But for a city the size of Macon, we had about 17 or 18 men on the SWAT team. We had a pretty good sized SWAT team. But you still worry about them when you got hostage situations. And I thought about this question a lot, and the two that jumped out in my mind were we had a hostage situation in an apartment complex, second floor window too. And we tried to get this boyfriend to let his girlfriend go. Tried so hard. And after about 10 hours, I guess he got tired of listening to us. And he just killed her, killed himself.
Mm.
And then we got a little kid that was about 13 years old running down one of the streets in the hood. And he was just crying. He was screaming. He was yelling. He was so afraid. And we found out that his mama and brother were in the apartment with him when the ex-boyfriend broke in, and they were fighting. And he was afraid something was going to happen. And we got there, but it was real quiet. We couldn't get any response to the door, so we sent the SWAT team in. It was about 4 or 5 apartments connected to each other, and the only access to each apartment was through the attic. So we emptied the whole apartment building and secured that entire complex. And we caught him coming out, like, her apartment was number 1 and 5 apartments down where we caught him. And he had blood all over him. So we sent the SWAT team in, and we found the 6-year-old boy in the floor. And the only reason he didn't cut his head off was a piece of skin on the back of the neck. The knife didn't go through it. It went through the vertebrae and everything. The mother was stabbed so many times, I couldn't count them. And then he picked up a television set, and back then, it was not a flat screen television. He picked up that television and dropped it on her head. Mm. And we stayed out there. I won't never forget this. I got the call. It was Thanksgiving Day. And the family was over, and we put I don't know if it was dressing on the turkey or something. We put it in the oven, and my pager went off, and I told him, I said, I got to go. I said, save me a piece of turkey. So I left. And when I got back home that night, number one, there wasn't no turkey left. They ate it all. And but I was gone that long. They cooked the Thanksgiving meal, and we had 2 dead. One stupid going to jail. But it's all about hostages. Another one, Daddy shot at his ex-wife, and he didn't hit her, but it was enough to scare her that she called us. And he had enough time to put a stock of water, took all the pots in the kitchen, filled them with water because he thought we'd turn the water off. He put things against all of the doors, put things up in the window so we couldn't see in, put the lids to some cast iron pots that she had on a rope around it, and put it on his, made him a vest out of a cast iron lid covering his chest. And we stayed there and tried to talk that man out of hurting his son for 2 days.
Wow.
And I know it was way too long, if you ask me. But I wasn't a SWAT commander, so long story short, we made entry. We threw in flashbangs, made entry. He was in the kitchen. He shot 2 SWAT officers before they riddled him. And but the boy was all right. We saved the little boy. And it was all because of child custody.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty intense, man. He made himself like a suit of armor out of household objects. He
did. We didn't turn his water off. We turned his electricity off, and it was so hot. God almighty knows it was hot. And it stayed off so long that we actually turned it back on so it wouldn't get too hot.
That's got to be the hardest decision for whoever's got to make the call to breach entry into a home. I mean, it's hard enough, but then when there's kids in there, that's got to be I can understand why someone would hold off for that long,
Everything we did, every conversation we had with him, except one, was at the back door. He put a shower curtain around him and his son, who walked out on the porch and talked to one of the hostage negotiators one time. But of course, he had a hacksaw with a piece of stick tied to it under that curtain, and all you could see was that hacksaw blade. They thought it was a shotgun, so they didn't rush him. And but everything happened at the back door, and they wanted the video camera set up at the front door because that's where he came out to talk. We just knew he was going to come out and talk, or the bad was going to happen at the front door. Well, it didn't. We set the video camera up like they wanted it, and it all happened at the back door. 2 police officers shot, not bad. And well, I say not bad. I ain't never been shot, but
just flesh wounds.
one was
it's
shot
not
in
bad.
the thigh. That's bad. One was shot in the thigh and in and out, didn't hit the bone, and the other one was shot in the kneecap. But he had ceramic plates in his body armor, so it bruised his knee and broke the plate. But I'm gonna tell you, you shoot somebody close up with rubber bullets out of a shotgun, and they'll penetrate just like buckshot. Because I saw it.
Oh wow! So you guys shot him with rubber bullets?
One, the first man in had a shotgun, and his first round was rubber bullets. Now the second man in had an MP5, and he didn't have rubber bullets, and it lit him up like a Christmas tree.
Oh, I bet. And those MP5s, they full auto?
Yeah.
Oof.
I shot one of those when I was training director, and it's shooting out shell casing so fast, it knocked out the fluorescent light over my stall. It broke the light bulb.
All right.
Yeah, those are sick. If you put a suppressor on those, a silencer, that you can almost hear the bolt work. It's so quiet. Just those things are awesome.
Mm.
All right, sir. Well, I wanted to ask you, I saw that you were really into cold cases as a detective. Can you tell the listeners what, I think a lot of people are probably curious, what makes something a cold case, and how do you manage them? How do you decide to start working it again?
Well, each department's got its own set of rules and standards, how they classify a case, a cold case. The minimum that I set down was it had to be at least 1 year old, and nobody was working on it. If somebody had a case that was a year old and they were still actively working that case, then I didn't mess with it. But you have to understand, when I started police work, we didn't even have an internal affairs at our department. We had a crime lab, but nothing like, what we have today. And we had investigators that if you had a high school education, man, you were Sherlock Holmes. Most of ours, just hired from the 40s and 50s. But I got to looking, and nobody was working cold cases. And I asked the chief, I said, Mike, can I do this? And he said, I don't care. Fine. Well, when I retired, there was 80 cold cases in in my office. That's how many cases had gone unsolved.
Wow.
And we had one central records director. I don't know what his mind told him, but when I came on the police department, you take a homicide report on a 5x7 card. That's it. Name, address, where it happened, stabbed to death. Joe Smuckatoe was working the case. And that's about all you had. Well, he needed file space, so he just threw all those cards away, and so he'd have more file cabinets. So a lot of information went out the door. But if the case was a year old, I would take the case and as much paperwork as I could find and for a long time in the 70s and 80s, they were putting all these cases on microfilm. And that was real good. But we had a real problem at the Macon Police Department. We put it all on microfilm, but we didn't have a damn machine where you could play it. You just had a handful of microfilm, but you couldn't put it in a machine to see what it said. So I found a way to take it out to the college, and they would take it off this film and put it on computer and print everything out for them. They helped a lot. But there were so many things that could be done today that couldn't have been done in the 70s or 60s, whenever the homicides happened. When I came on police department, most feared 3 letters in the law enforcement was FBI. But now it's DNA, and there's a lot of things out there where you can get DNA.
Yeah.
But I had some, and I took all of it. I took cold case homicides, I took cold case rapes, and I worked them. I had a lady from South Carolina. Her name was Alice Smith. She was certified in South Carolina and Georgia. She was actually a sheriff's deputy up there and a sheriff's deputy in Georgia at one time. But she kept a certification in both states. I didn't know Alice, and she asked the chief if she could help with cold cases. And he said, "You can help, but he'll have to ask me if you can help, and you can't tell him I said that." And she thought she'd just go in and help me do all this stuff, and it'd be a breeze, and I'd ask for her help. And I did, but it took about a year or 18 months, and she kind of got fed up. But she would take all of my cases, scan those reports, and put everything on disk. And when I left, we had a pretty good system. And I made some arrests, and I updated some cases where DNA was present and sent it to the lab. And it's just, you can't work 80 cold cases by yourself.
Well, of course not.
You can't do it. And we didn't have the manpower. We had manpower, but it wasn't going to delegate the manpower to help me to make a cold case squad. It never developed, and it's to this day it has not developed, even after consolidation in the sheriff's office. But it's funny you should mention cold cases. The sheriff's office called me about, I guess, 5 or 6 months ago now, wanting to know if I remembered a cold case from the 80s where the lady was thrown off a cliff and the body was found some months later. And I told him, no, I do not. I said, let me tell you why. I said, it wasn't a cliff. She was thrown down an embankment in front of the Capitol Cycle, in the old Capitol Cycle building. And she landed in a bunch of English ivy in a backyard. And skeleton was the only thing they found. And I told him, I said, now that's Fredonia Smith. I said, now, the cold case is in my old office or wherever y'all keep them now. And you can go read it. The reason they called me was that the FBI had called them. And there was some guy that had been convicted in California for multiple homicides, serial killer. He'd gone to Texas and got his ass arrested in Texas for killing somebody. And he was just spilling his beans. And he was telling them all about it. Supposed to be the most prolific serial killer in the United States so far. And I think he's on death row in California and death row in Texas. And he admitted to killing Fredonia. And the FBI called me and they said, how do you remember this? I said, let me tell you something. I can remember how many holes was in somebody's head if they were dead. But I can't tell you the address of City Hall right now. And it wasn't 3 numbers. And it's just some things I can remember and some things I can't remember. I said, but I'll tell you this. I said, you have a retired FBI agent living in Dahlonega, Georgia, who was the lead investigator on this case. I said, what you need to do is call him. And they did. And we sent a man out to Texas, and the guy said, yes, I did it. He said, okay. So now they'll come home, they'll stamp it cleared by arrest, and won't do anything. Right now, we'll bring him back to Georgia to prosecute him for that one murder anyway.
Wow.
Too much. I know it.
Do you have any more memorable cold cases that you solved?
Had a guy break into a school one day, and a teacher was in her classroom, and he beat her and he raped her, and I mean he beat the brakes off of her. He wanted to do something. He wanted to clean up his crime scene, but he didn't have time to stay there and, take a rag and some Lysol and do this. So what he did is he took a fire extinguisher and he sprayed that entire classroom with that fire extinguisher, the powder, the teacher, everything. And of course, we couldn't lift a print anyway. And I got the case as a cold case, and I looked at it. And I started working the case, developed the suspect, and found out he was in prison in Lee County, Georgia. His name came up in another case where he tried to rape a girl, and she fought him on the sidewalk, but he didn't rape her anyway. And I got looking at the crime scene photographs and trying to see what I could see in those photographs. And when you see one of these on television, like cold cases, and they're looking at the pictures, they're not looking to see the body or anything. They're looking for what they didn't see the first time. And in the middle of this snowfield in that classroom, I saw a black spot. And I got the crime lab, and I asked him, I said, look at your report and tell me what this black spot in the middle of the floor is. They said, it's a clump of head hair. She had pulled out some head hair. And what that picture told me was that hair came out after he sprayed the fire extinguisher, or it would have been covered with dust.
Sure.
We got it. We got the DNA profile off of it. He was already in prison, so we had the profile in CODIS. And wham, bam, thank you, man. We got a match. And I went to prison and walked up to the gate. They let me in. I went back and talked to him, and I took a crime lab tech with me to get his DNA. And I didn't know how the prisons did their interviews and things like that. And I asked him, I said, suppose this guy breaks bad. I said, who takes care of him? And the prison guard said, we all do. I said, okay. I told the crime lab tech, I said, the man said we could share. And of course, with CODIS now, you've got, you can't take the evidence and match it with CODIS and go to trial. We had to get his DNA so we could say, okay, this DNA is his DNA. It's matched to CODIS, and this we compare it to the DNA off the hair. And but anyway, we got a match, and he said he didn't do it, but he got life for not doing it.
Yeah, that must have felt good telling him you're not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah.
I was bad about that. I was cocky when it came to putting them in their place. I never slapped, punched, did all this other stuff. Matter of fact, never had an internal affairs investigation against me. And that ought to say something for me. But I listened to so many excuses.
Hey, Jimmy.
Go ahead. I'm here.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've been reading up on you because you're famous, because you're all over the internets. Can you tell us about?
I'm sorry, about what?
Stephen Rose and Rick Key.
Yeah. McDonald's homicide happened January the 14th, 1989. They were managers of one was the manager, one was the assistant manager, McDonald's in Macon on Riverside Drive at Northside Drive. And I drove past that thing every day going to work. And every day I passed that, I thought about that case. And they were closed. It wasn't an all-night McDonald's. They had closed up doing inventory. And Rick Key was the manager. Stephen was the assistant manager. I guess 4 or 5 days prior to the murder, one of the cleanup people saw somebody standing outside by the Dempsey dumpster, and they got a little worried. So they started a policy: if you're closing up and going to make a night deposit at the bank, 2 employees had to go to the bank. Well, that would have been Rick and Steve. On this particular night, there was a 16-year-old boy who didn't have a ride at home. He was a part-time employee. So one of them made the decision to take him home. And since there were 2 employees, even though he was part-time, they could take the money to the bank. And that's what they did. Rose took the money to the bank while the 16-year-old was in his vehicle, and then carried the boy home and came back to the store to finish the inventory. When they finished the inventory, they started to leave. Rick Key had his day planner in his hand, and from a distance, it would probably look like a money bag. There was one hiding behind an air conditioning unit at the Porter Paints next door. Not sure where the second guy was. We know there was 2 of them because there were 2 weapons used. When Rick went out to the parking lot to get in his truck, they shot him center mass with a .22 rifle, and it went straight into his heart. He fell over dead right there in the parking lot. We know there was a person behind that air conditioning unit because the first round, it didn't go off. It was 22 rimfire, so they ejected that round and didn't pick it up, and fired again and killed him. Rose took off running. They shot him one time, we think, in the wrist. The second time was in the back of the thigh, and it severed the femoral artery. He had made it into the middle of the street. And we're following his blood trail. He goes across the street to what was an insurance company at the time, and he's losing so much blood, he drops to the ground. They rolled him down an embankment next to an air conditioning unit at the insurance company and shot him in the head, killed him. You couldn't see Rose's body from the road. Now, this is where it got tricky. That insurance company was in the city. McDonald's across the street was in the county. The yellow line was the border in the road. We responded because we could get there quicker than the sheriff's office. We could get anywhere quicker than the sheriff's office could. But the chief at the time, Jim Brooks, he had a good homicide unit, and he was proud of them. So we were standing around and trying to look the area, see if we could find any evidence. But we were not going on the parking lot of McDonald's because that was the county. That was their crime scene. Well, lo and behold, a couple hours later, we find Rose in the city, beside that air conditioner. And Jim tells the sheriff that, why don't we have a joint investigation? And they knew our record of solving cases. They said, oh boy, okay, let's do that. Well, we were good, but we wasn't good on this case. And we don't have a clue. To this day, we don't have a clue. A lot of people said that, yeah, a lot of people, we think that there was somebody passing through town and they just got off the interstate to rob McDonald's. I said, well, I don't think you're right. I said, because if they did, they parked on the interstate and they're a mile and a half from the exit. I don't think a robber is going to work too hard at what he's going to do. So he would have had to go up a 50-foot embankment, know that there was a cut in the fence that he could get through, or he's going to have to climb over the fence, and he wasn't going to do that. So I ruled out that stopping on the interstate. The second thing is they got a yellow sign with the arches 100 feet in the air. If the yellow arches are on, we call it a clue. The restaurant's open. If the arches are off, they're probably closed. So you have to know what their schedule was. And I just didn't feel like it was somebody passing through town. But I could be wrong. But that case is still in the sheriff's office today. And I put it in the cold case file. And we even started a program with one of the TV stations with Crime Stoppers, where we would actually profile we did it once a week. We profile 2 cold cases files on that show every week, and see if we could get some information on it. And never got a call on them. Didn't get a call on a bunch of them, but
that's kind of strange, right? Because it's like you were kind of getting at, they would kind of have to have some knowledge of when the place was closing, who would be doing the drop and all that. So you'd think they were probably local people that knew about McDonald's taking their money out. So then, did you find usually if it was a crime by someone local, they, usually they can't keep their mouth shut or something happens, right?
Exactly. I don't know what it is. A rapist is not going to go out and talk about what he did. But a burglar or a robber, they just so proud of it, they'll talk to anybody.
Yeah, they get a couple pops in them at the local bar and they start jabbing.
Yeah. And all you got to do is flash a little bit of currency, and one of your CIs will come tell you everything. I used to have a CI, he's dead now, he was killed in a murder. I used to have a CI that would call me and tell me when the burglary was going to happen ahead of time. And then, of course, we'd stake it out and it wouldn't happen. And then he'd call me back and said, I told you. He said, they just changed the date. I said, how do you know all this stuff? He said, hell, I was with him. I said, Jesus Christ, man. That's a lot more stitch up.
Jimmy, I'm just seeing this some other cases they just pop up from your past here career. LaToya Berrien.
LaToya was a cold case. Yeah.
That seems like a pretty intense one.
It was. We worked an awful lot of hours on that thing, and we looked at more green cars than anybody I've ever seen in my life. LaToya was with some friends. They wanted to stop at a hamburger. It was Wendy's. Yeah, they wanted to stop at Wendy's and get something to eat. Well, LaToya didn't want to eat. She had talked to somebody, and LaToya would turn a trick every now and then. When she needed some money, she would. And she got in a car. They didn't know the guy, couldn't see him really, but they could describe the car extremely well. And we found her on the dead end part of Railroad Avenue on a trash pile. They had beat her with a 2x4, dumped her body on top of a trash pile that was maybe 3 or 4 feet high, boxes, limbs, all kinds of. It was a trashy neighborhood, and set that thing on fire. Wasn't bad enough to have to beat her with a 2x4 to kill her, but they set the trash pile on fire and burned the body. And we worked that thing and worked it. My squad didn't work it, but we all worked these homicides together. The lead detective was on another squad. And we worked. We couldn't come up with anything that we could take to the DA. But then the county had one. They beat this girl, put her inside. Didn't have a trash pile, but they had a house that had been trashed. Put her on the trash pile in that house and set it on fire. And when I left, we were looking to see if those cases could be, linked and then see what kind of physical evidence. But I retired before that happened.
That's really weird, Jimmy. That's like a, almost like ritualist.
Yeah.
A ritual.
Yeah.
I can't talk. That is, that's freaky. Do you think it was a signature? You think it was a cult or something, or more than one person? Or do you think it was like a serial killer, like a crazy?
I think he picked her up, had sex with her, wasn't going to pay her. She was going to be Joe Bad, and he killed her, and they didn't think twice about it. I think he killed her, and the reason I say that is if you kill somebody, 99 times out of 100, the person, if you shoot somebody, the first person that regrets it is the one that pulled that trigger. But when you beat somebody to death with a 2x4, you might have a little difficulty saying, I'm sorry. But when you put them on a trash pile and set them on fire, you really got a problem saying I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a lot of effort, a lot of time to think about it as you're doing it.
Exactly. But then again, you want to destroy the crime scene.
Yeah. Now, you said her friends were getting a hamburger. Was she like, did this happen right outside of a Wendy's or something, out of the parking lot?
They had gone to a movie, and they were in the parking lot of Wendy's going in, and that's when I don't know if she knew him or if he just tapped her when she went over to the trick or what. But yeah, the friends went on in and got their hamburger. They didn't know she was going to get in the car until, she didn't come in. But that's what she did. And her mother, bless her heart, her mother, she called me one day and she said, Captain, she said, I need a favor from you. I said, okay. She said, they're going to turn my water off tomorrow. And I said, uh-oh. I said, well, she said, can you loan me some money? And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, she's going to ask me for $100. And I said, how much do you need, Miss Barron? She said, I need $19 and some odd cent.
Oh, my.
I said, can you come down tomorrow and pick it up? She said, I can come down right now and pick it up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, come on down. And I put 25. It was Christmas time. I had some Christmas cards in my desk. I wrote a Christmas card out for her, and I put $25 in that envelope with the Christmas card, and I handed it to her when she got there. And I said, I didn't have a $19 bill. I said, but I had a $25 bill. And she just laughed. She hugged my neck. She gave me a Christmas card. She had done the same thing, except she left money out. And I laughed. And she was an employee at Burger King. And on Sundays, when I had to work, and she knew my work schedule now. Matter of fact, she still got my phone number. She would bring me a biscuit by the Detective Bureau every Sunday.
That's nice.
But
hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Jimmy.
She would call once a month, and she'd ask, did you hear anything? And I said, no. And she said, well, can you put it on television again? And the television station, they did that so many times, they really didn't want to do it anymore. And she said, well, can you do it at the cemetery where we buried her? And they said, oh, well, yeah, we got another angle now. We can show the cemetery plot. And they did that for a long time, but not the first phone call on it.
Mm. Hey, Steve.
Sir.
Before we were to end this interview, I want to find out about this rascal Jimmy Barbee who hung a guy out of a third-floor window at Lanier High School.
What?
How the hell did you hear about that?
I want to hear about that one.
What did you do, Jimmy?
I hung him out the third floor window.
By his ankles.
Oh, we got to hear this.
Well, I went to an all-boys military school. And damn, I don't know how y'all found out about that. Neil. Oh. Anyway, I didn't like the guy. And when we were in junior high, he threw an ice cream sandwich at PE, and there must have been 100 of us out there. And that ice cream sandwich hit me in the side of the head, and I didn't like it. So I picked it up, And I walked up to him and I smeared it in his face. And when I drew back to hit him, I like to jerk my shoulder out of joint because one of the football coaches grabbed my arm. And he stopped me. He said, well, what are you doing? I said, nothing now, coach. And he made me run laps. And so we get over to senior high a couple of years later, and I still didn't like him. And I don't know what he said to me, but we were in third floor science class, and I just picked him up, threw him out the window, held him by his ankles. And the teacher walked in, and she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm giving Albert some air. And she made me pull him back. I wasn't going to drop him, but she made me pull him back in. And he never bothered me. He never bothered me anymore. But I tell you what he did do. The next year, he set the damn school on fire and burned it to the ground.
Mm.
Wow.
My goodness.
So he had some issues then.
Yeah, I should have dropped him.
Yeah, really. Do the world a favor. That's
How'd
funny.
you find out about that?
Yeah, Ken.
You know what? I was a background investigator for 16 years. This is my job.
That's what he does. That is funny. Jimmy, can you tell us about a heartwarming story from your career?
I don't know of any heartwarming.
I think the biscuit story was kind of heartwarming, actually.
That's about the best I can do.
Oh, I hear you.
I tell you what's heartwarming for me.
Sure.
When I was in IA, it ain't got nothing to do with crime. I don't think. It may have been a crime. When I was in IA, I smoked. So I'd go outside and somebody come up with this rule, you can't smoke in the building. And I'd go outside and smoke. And I didn't know Brenda. She worked on the 10th floor and I worked on the 3rd floor. And for 25 years, we worked half a block away from each other, both in the same city, and I'd never met her. So I was sitting outside smoking, and every day she'd go on a power walk. And she would take her keys, which was a nice set of keys, and stick them in her back pocket. And when she walked past me, my eyes were magnetized for those keys. And I asked a buddy of mine I smoked with, I said, who is that? He said, that's Brenda. That's a mean woman. I said, I really don't give a damn how mean she is. And I've been looking at those keys ever since. But in all the time I'm in IA, I never saw her. And now I'm married to her thanks to those keys.
I get it now. I was like, where's he getting at here? I get it. I'm a little slow, Jimmy.
Well, it says heartwarming. It wasn't, I don't know how heartwarming it is, but.
Do you have, Jimmy?
I can tell you one.
Okay.
There's a little lady had an accident and her car was upside down. She was strapped in the seatbelt. And I had to go down the embankment and I got in all the glass was broken out. And she was so afraid that car was going to blow up. She'd seen all these movies where if the car turns over, boom, it blows up. And I'm trying to get her out where I don't drop her on her head in all that glass. And she told me, she said, this car's going to blow up. She said, please leave. She said, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. And I said, ma'am, this car wouldn't dare blow up with me in it. And I was just trying to make her feel better. And she said, my son's a state trooper. And I said, well, if it was my mama, your son would be in the car with her. And I did. I cut the seatbelt and got her where I got my legs or something under her where when she fell, she didn't fall in all that broken glass. And she wasn't hurt, but she was scared to death. But it just tickled her to death. I stayed with her and kind of tickled her son a little bit too. But that's about as heartwarming as I can get. You work homicide for 30 years. It either takes it all out of your brain or it didn't happen.
I hear you. Jimmy, one question that people really seem to like is advice for new officers or police candidates coming on the job?
Pay attention when you're in training. They don't train you these things just to be taking up classroom time. You're going to do things, you're going to see things, you're going to hear things that you never thought you'd hear or see or do. And one way to cover your hiney is to say you reverted back to training. If they trained you this way, then you're okay. You can't train enough. I don't care what kind of class it is. If it's teaching you how to compass point north, go to it. You can't get enough training. Do not be afraid to do what you have to do. It's scary sometimes, and you do things that you don't want to do. But there's a motto at the Georgia Police Academy: it's better to have 12 trying you than 6 carrying you. So don't be afraid to do what you have to do. Police officers go their entire career without having to pull a weapon. If you pull it and you hesitate, second place is the first loser. You don't want to be the first loser. And you always revert back to training. I pulled mine 3 times, fired 3 shots over 45 years, and all I had to do was make a statement. And 3 of them bit the dust. Whoop, bam, bam.
You were involved in 3 shootings.
Yeah, I shot 3.
Wow.
But they were coming at me with weapons, not guitars like Neil.
Yeah, that's intense.
And I'm gonna tell you something. Neil was right. I heard that interview you did with him, and he did that tore him up to have to shoot him. And but that guitar kill you. And
sure.
But I had 2 guns and a knife coming at me.
Do you want to elaborate on that story a little bit?
Or
one of them?
First one was in July of 1976. It was exactly 1 month before my son was born. We had gotten a call about a stabbing, and when we got to the scene, it was a duplex shot house. They were selling liquor by the shot without a license, and there was probably 25 or 30 people in there, and the lady got stabbed in the breast because of an argument. And it wasn't life-threatening. We were just trying to get the crowd quiet. And a man comes in, and I'm watching him, and I'm listening to him. He's just wearing us out. He doesn't care about the crowd. And I told him, I said, you need to calm down. Just get away. And he walked away from him. Well, I saw my lieutenant elbow him in the chest. And I found out after it was all over that the guy walked past me, put his hands on his pistol grip. And I followed him into a little hallway, and I stopped him again. I said, Mister, I'm going to tell you something now. I said, if you don't shut up and quit interfering with us, I said, I'm going to have to lock you up. And he said, well, why don't you just do what you got to do? I said, well, why don't you just put your hands on that wall? And he did. And I started to pat him down. He turned around and he patted his pocket. And he said, I'm not going to jail. I said, if you stick your hand in that pocket for that gun, I said, you're going to hell.
Nice.
I did.
Like
his wife said, he doesn't have a gun. And he said, yeah, I got a gun. I'm not going to jail. When he shoved his hand in his pocket, it was his right hand. So you have to picture this now. I'm facing him. He shoves his right hand in his pocket. I grab him with my left hand on the pocket, and I feel the gun, and I'm trying to keep that barrel pointed down. He grabs me around the neck with his left arm, and that left my right arm free. So I pulled my weapon, and the fight ended. He snapped that thing 5 times, and it hit 5 bullets. But the lining in his pants pocket was preventing that hammer from hitting that bullet hard enough to set it off. And I
Wow.
told her daughter, I said, give me some towels. And I put one on his stomach where it went in, and it went in right below his rib cage. And I put one on his back, and I'm trying to stop the bleeding. And he looked at me and he said, Lord Jesus, I'm dead. And I said, no. I said, no, but you're working on it. And you know, I told you I was smart ass. But anyway, he did. He died. The second one was a robbery. 2 females. Old man picked him up trying to give him a ride. He was 76 years old. And they pulled a knife on him, robbed him, took a $100 bill and some more currency. And they got out of the car. He comes down to City Hall, and it's a Sunday. I have to be in an hour ahead of my squad. So I'm just sitting up in Telesur where they take reports over the phone and talking to that officer. And he comes in. Well, there's nobody there to assign it to. So I said, well, get in the car with me. We'll go. You show me where it happened. And I was trying to find the crime scene. And he stops. He made me stop. And he said, they're coming down the street. So I backed up and looked. There come 2 women down the street. And one of them had on hot pink tights and a hot pink shirt. I mean, she looked like a big ball of cotton candy coming down the street. And, I pull up, and I'm an unmarked white Chevrolet. They don't think anything about that until I pop those blue lights on them. When I pop the blue lights, one of them runs up in the front yard, and I jump out of the car, and I recognize her. And she said, hey, Mama. And this lady at the front door said, don't call me Mama, get out of my yard. And I told her, I said, Calvina, come towards me. Calvina had a reputation. She would lay in the road, and if you stopped to check on her, she would pull out, she kept a little bottle of lighter fluid, or can if she could, in her crotch, and she would squirt lighter fluid on and say, give me money or I'm going to set you on fire. Well, most of the people give her the money.
Nice lady.
Yeah. Well, she comes up to me, and the first thing she does is drops her blue jeans. And when she did, I forearmed her and knocked her on the ground. I flipped her over, and I put my weapon in my left hand, my weak hand, and I got my finger on the side, not on the trigger. I take my handcuffs, and I grab, and I handcuff the right arm. And as I bring it behind her, I swear she was going to try to help me. She wasn't trying to fight me or hurt me or anything. She throws that left hand behind her back, and the thumb goes in the trigger guard on that Glock, and it shoots her in the ass. And she told, I know, technically she shot herself, so I shouldn't have even gone to IA. But I saw the bullet. It went in right at the cheek of the butt and actually fractured the top of the femur and spun on the ground like a little top. I said, well, look at that. And she was so high on cocaine, she didn't even know she was shot. But Tina, the girl with her, she was so afraid that I told her to get on the ground, Tina, and she hit the ground. But she was so afraid when that gun went off, she still had the open knife in her hand and was afraid to throw it, afraid I'd shoot her. And that was the second one.
Yeah, this guy's shooting everybody in the ass. I was going to do it. You could have told her to, reenact Hamlet. She would have done it.
Well, you'd be surprised now. I'm going to tell you something else when I get through. Number 3.
All right.
Man kidnaps a lady. He tells her, I'm going to rape you. I'm going to kill you, blah, 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 blah. He takes all the money. He takes her to 3 different banks, and she draws out money from her debit card. He takes her back to the Macon Mall. No, he drops her off at something like a rescue mission thrift store. And he goes back to the mall in her car. He steals the car. Well, the patrol officers find the car at the Macon Mall. Probably 1,000 people, 1,000 cars in the parking lot. And I get there, and the patrol car's up by Macy's, and her car's down by the food court. And I asked them, I said, how many unmarked cars are at the mall? And they said, just you. And I said, well, that's what I thought. I said, I'm going to go down there where her car is at, and I'm going to wait for him to come up. I said, when I do, I said, I'm going to take him down, and y'all get down here quick. They said, okay. So I'm headed down to the parking lot, and I'm talking to the good Lord. I said, Lord, just let me get close to the car. And boom, there's a parking space right behind it. And I said, I said this. I said, thank you, Lord, but I really didn't want to get this close. But I parked. I wasn't there 5 minutes, and here he comes. He's styling up to the car, and he goes to try to get in. And I walk up behind him, and it's cold. It's January. So I challenge him. I identify myself, and he's looking down the barrel of a Glock. But before he looked down the Glock, no, he throws both arms out to the side, and he says, I ain't robbed nobody. And I thought, Jesus Christ, here we go. I said, this ain't going good. So I set my radio on the hood of a car, and he turns around. I challenge him. Identify myself as a police officer. He throws both arms out. He says, I didn't rob anybody. I said, okay, this is not going to go well. So I set my walkie-talkie on the hood of a car. He turns around and smiles at me, and that's when he tries to duck behind the tailgate of the pickup. And I'm thinking, he's going to take cover and shoot at me, or he's going to try to go in that mall and take a hostage. I'm not going to let him do either one. The only thing I could see when he ducked was the knee down on his right leg. So I shot him right in the kneecap. And, oh, God, he screamed.
Oh,
and
that would hurt.
It knocked 2 inches of bone out of that leg.
That's a real ouchie.
I just had both my knees replaced, and they still hurt. But those officers came down so fast that when I started to cuff him, I drew back with the cuffs, and I had an officer on each one of my arms snatched me off of him and picked him up and threw him on the hood of one of the patrol cars and cuffed him, and his leg was moving. What used to be the knee was moving to the right, and the foot was moving to the left. And I told him, man, that looks painful. I said, God, all he could do was cuss me. And all of them cussed me when I showed them.
No respect.
No respect at all.
But
you know, it's just one of those things. I could not make myself tell somebody to do something if I couldn't do it myself. I just couldn't do it. I took a SWAT team one day and I could talk my way out of anything, I believe. I had a guy barricaded in the house, and he had a woman in the house. And we got the SWAT team there, and we're trying to talk to him, and I'm talking to him, and I look off the porch, and I see the lady coming around the house, and she says, I went out the bathroom window. And I said, well, good. So I told the guy, I said, I can't hear you. Come up to the door. And he came up to the door, and I told the SWAT team, I said, they had the battering ram. I said, knock the door down. Well, when you tell the SWAT team to knock the door down, you got two choices. You can go in with them or get out of the way. And I did neither one. They hit that door, and the next thing I know, my nose is pushed through a wire mesh covering the glass on the door. The door cuts my arm. And that's all from the SWAT team. They hit that guy so hard, it knocked the refrigerator off the wall. And I don't know. I didn't mess with the SWAT team anymore.
Yeah. You got to make the call and then back up.
That's right. They like to run. I can't move that quick.
Jimmy, you have given us some great stories, man. I truly appreciate it. We're going we're up to an hour 20 here, so just thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Yeah.
Well, not a problem. Not a problem. And it's all the truth too, bless my heart. But I still don't know how the hell y'all found out me hanging that Albert out the window.
Ken is not going to reveal his sources. You got a hold of your high school teacher.
That's right.
He was going through your garbage.
Dumpster dive on Jimmy.
You have anything else for Jimmy, Ken?
I don't. I'm just mesmerized. He's got some good stories, but what a legend, man. Just so many years of good police work, and we just touched the tip of just the surface of his experience. There's just so many things. Plus, we didn't even get to too much of the Vietnam stuff that led him to where he was in police work. And a lot of people think that, police officers are sometimes callous and they don't take things, like serious stuff as to the heart as other people do. But I believe I read that Jimmy and his crew in Vietnam, they killed 400 people in one night with a 5-man crew. That's that type of thing is what shaped him to who he is when he was dealing with these homicides, which is what it takes,
Absolutely.
Did they tell you what my crew was on? My crew was on the 8-inch howitzer. Each projectile weighed 205 pounds.
Holy cow!
Wow. I thought you were going to say they were on some kind of government drug. Wow. Well, yeah, really awesome, Jimmy. Thank you so much once again. Oh, we lost him.
Reconnecting again?
I think so. Jimmy, you there?
Jimmy, come in.
Jimmy, don't leave us. Are you back?
I'm not leaving.
Go, yeah, you're coming back to say goodbye.
Hello.
All right.
Can you hear me now?
We got you, brother.
I'm here.
All right, man. We were just saying thank you very much for coming on, and we just truly appreciate it.
Well, it's my pleasure. If I could send you a picture, we had a tornado here last Sunday, and well, we didn't have it here. We had it over at Neil Smith's house, and that little Freddy cat's in. He built him an in-ground shelter, nothing but stairs, goes down to a hole, looks like a bathtub, and
wow.
Oh, geez.
He's at the bottom, sitting in the bathtub, and his wife's at the top of the step because she's afraid to go deep.
I don't blame him, man. Those things terrify me.
I slept through one.
Yeah, my wife slept through one, wasn't
it? I thought I heard a little snickering in the background there. Is that the missus?
Yeah, she knows everything. It's all right. We talk.
Well, hello to you too.
She's my best friend.
There you go.
She knows everything, and she haven't left you, so that's pretty good.
No, she knows everything. I might tell you some shit, but I ain't gonna lie to you.
All right, Jimmy. Well, thank you very much for coming on, sir. And I'm gonna do our outro plugs here.
Well, I appreciate you calling me. Let me do it.
All right, sir. Take care. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you'd like to support the show, go over to thingspolicec.com. When you get on the website, there's a few different ways you can show some support. You can donate directly. You can do a one-time donation or a monthly donation. Even $1 helps us keep the lights on over here, pays our expenses for the month, is greatly appreciated. You can also just use our Amazon affiliate link. If you just want to buy something on Amazon like you normally do, just do it through our link, and we'll get a little kickback for that. So you can go to the website and do that, or in the show notes, I'll put a link. You can just click right through that link. And the third way is you can buy some merch. So we have coffee mugs, we have T-shirts, men's and women's, and we also have hoodie sweatshirts now. So go over to thingspolicec.com and check it out. You can also just listen to the podcast there, or you can apply to be a guest. Just scroll down and click on Be a Guest, and what you want to do is just give us a brief synopsis of your service, how many years you were on the job, and just a very brief idea of the stories you'd like to share, and I will get right back to you. So thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.